Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we are talking about one of the most slept on decks in the current format, or just in most formats thus far in Master Duel, that being Dragon Link. I've talked about this deck extensively, and it's still getting better. It just got a new support card with Boral and Dragon, which is an absolutely insane boss monster. Dragoon levels of, indestructibility, and it's also spell speed 4 for some reason. You can't respond to it. This card's absolutely crazy. It adds back cards from the graveyard. It can't be destroyed by battle or card effects and can't be targeted. It can attack everything. It's like Dragoon and UCT had a child that was a Link 5. That's this monster. It's absolutely insane. So let's quickly talk about the deck and what it plans to do. So it plans to utilize a bunch of dragon type support, such as the Red Rose Dragon as well as the Rockets, in order to go into powerful Link monsters, such as the Striker Dragon, to gain even more advantage, and then end on things like Borreload Savage, a potential Omni-Negate such as Baron, Hot Red Dragon, and Borreload, and potential follow-up in hand traps like the DD Crow, the Gammas, and the Nibirus. So let's quickly do the card by card. Starting off with the hand trap lineup, we're playing the 2 Gamma as well as the Driver. We're playing the 2 DD Crow, the 1 Effect Veiler, the 1 Ghost Ogre, the 2 Nibiru, and that is those are the most important ones that are abnormal, and the reason that we are playing these cards in particular is because they are lights and darks. This really helps facilitate a chaos-like strategy, which this deck aims to utilize. We're also playing, of course, the triple Maxi, triple Ash Blossom, and the double Imperm. Moving on, we are playing a whole bunch of other Rocket or Dragon-related cards. We're playing the 1 Synchron, the 1 Rocket Synchron, the 2 Rocket Tracer, the 1 Rocket Recharger, and then the triple Quick Launch to allow us to get to all of those. We're also playing the Red Rose package with the triple Red Rose and the 1 Rox Rose, and then, of course, the 1 Basil Rose Shoot. We're also playing, of course, the Adventure Engine. It just pairs so wonderfully with the Red Rose, as well as being able to mill cards to the graveyard can potentially hit something like a Water Enchantress, which can then get you into that half of the engine, plus ending on an Omni-Negate within 2 summons means that it's easier to play around hand traps and the like. So yeah, there's the Adventure Engine. We are playing the 1 Wyver Burster as well as the 1 Collapse Serpent, which are mostly just our search targets for the Chaos Space. Chaos Space allows us to dump a light or dark in order to add one of those guys, and they're basically free special summons at that point. Very nice. Next up, we have 1 Destrudo as well as 1 Absoraptor to send off of a Dragon Ravine. We'll get into that in a second. We also have 1 Chaos Dragon Levianeer and as well as 1 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon to, 1 to help kind of clear boards or potentially push for like additional hand rips and stuff like that. Just an overall very solid card, as well as we have the Darkness Metal Dragon to help facilitate extra advantage by banishing a dragon to get another one from grave. Next up, we're going to talk about the Dragon Ravine. This card is crazy. It can be searched off of Romulus, and what it does is it dumps a card, you discard a card to dump a dragon to the grave. Again, you're mostly going to be sending a Destrudo or an Absoraptor. Next up, we have Boot Sector Launch, another field spell that can special summon up to 2 rocket monsters with different names from your hand in defense position. This can be searched off of a Striker Dragon and is the main reason why to even play this style of deck. This card is absolutely crazy, just allowing you to gain so much advantage, especially with Rocket Tracer being able to destroy it in order to get a non-tuner onto your side of the field. I think that's it. The rest are just kind of tech cards. We are playing the 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, the 1 Monster Reborn, the 1 for 1, the 2 Called By, 1 Crossout Designator, 1 Forbidden Droplet, and that's it. I know it's a little bit weird in terms of the cards that I'm playing, but I didn't want to be playing like 53 or something like that, so I decided to play 55, bump up a few more additional cards like the Monster Reborn and the 1 Droplet, and just call it a day. As for the extra deck, we are playing the 1 Shooting Riser Dragon. This is very good because it can dump Snow, and Snow in and of itself is an absolute monster of a card and should definitely be banned. Next up, we have Borreload Savage Dragon as well as our Chaos Ruler. These two are very good. Chaos Ruler is definitely more of the heart of the deck. You want to be able to dump cards to the graveyard, and this card does that, as well as being able to search out a light or dark. And I know what you're saying, well, if you want to dump cards, why aren't you playing Grass? And the reason for that is because it's kind of a dead card. You need to see specific cards in the graveyard and have specific cards in hand, which normally happens just through your combo anyway, so there's no real point in adding Grass. It can just be a dead card anyway. It's not always, but it can be, depending on the style of deck that you're playing. Next up, we have the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. This can be summoned off of the Chaos Ruler as well as a Rocket Synchron. Next up, we have Baron de Fleur. This will be summoned off of a Red Rose as well as a Wandering Griffin or any other 7 that we happen to have. Next up, we have one Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon allows us to go into basically the full combo. You normal summon a dragon, and you're able to go for this guy, which can then search the boot sector. And if you have something like a rocket, you can pop it in order to grab the rocket back and then go and activate your boot sector to special summon it. We then have Hieratic Seal. It's just a nice option to end on sometimes. Being able to bounce something and then add additional recursion by special summoning a monster from the deck is very nice. We have one Crystron Halqifibrax. However, we don't play the Auroradon stuff. And the reason for this is because Crystron Halqifibrax is normally going to either grab something like a Red Rose in order to go into the level 10 with the Adventure Engine, or we are going to summon something like a Rocket Synchron or a Tracer just to get another tuner onto our side of the field, or specifically a Rocket. Next up, we have Romulus. Romulus searches out the Ravine. That's basically it. We have the one Masquerena, the one Dark, the one Nightmare Unicorn, the one Axis Code Talker, and the one Boral End. So that's it for the deck list. Let's hop into the replays and see how this deck performs. Before we get on to the rest of the video, did you know that 70% of the people who watch my content aren't subscribed? If you end up liking the content, consider subscribing. You can always unsubscribe later if you end up not liking it. Anyway, let's get on to the rest of the video. So I will say that these replays are more so to show you what this deck can do and the potential plays that it can make, and not necessarily show you how I played against a specific opponent. This is more just a proof of concept rather than anything else. Anyway, we start off with a pretty good hand, seeing as how we have Chaos Space as well as a Nibiru to pitch and 2 other hand traps. Feels pretty good. So we're going to start off with that Chaos Space pitching the Nibiru in order to grab up Collapse Serpent. Collapse Serpent is then going to banish the Nibiru in order to special summon itself, and we will link this off into a Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon effect will activate, and we will chain block the Striker Dragon so that we get the guaranteed search with our Collapse Serpent. This is the value of the Collapse Serpent and Wyver Burster because they chain block our Striker Dragon. Next up, we are going to search up our boot sector as well as the Wyver Burster, special summon the Wyver Burster, and go into Romulus. Romulus effect is going to activate here, and we're going to search up that Dragon Ravine. Then I'm going to activate the Chaos Space here because I want another discard. Sure, we could discard either the Ash or the Imperm, but if we get another discard for us with this Dragon Ravine, we can send something like the Rocket Recharger? Not Rocket. Absorouter Dragon, that's what it's called. We can send the Absorouter Dragon to the graveyard, and then we can search up another Rocket to have 2 summons off of our boot sector launch. So that's the overall plan here. We're going to shuffle back our, doesn't really matter which one, and then we are going to actually draw into the Absorouter. So now we can actually instead send the Destrudo to the graveyard instead of the Absorouter. So we're going to activate the Absorouter here, and we're going to grab up our Rocket Tracer. Then we are going to activate our launch in order to, our boot sector launch, in order to special summon out our 2 rocket monsters. I'm then going to activate the Destrudo in order to special summon it to the field by paying half my life points. We're then going to Synchro Summon it into Chaos Ruler and reveal a few cards. We only see the Gamma here. This is some pretty bad mills. We saw a whole bunch of spells that don't do anything, and we only see the Gamma. I'm going to add the Gamma to hand, but not the greatest there. We're going to link off into a Crystron Halqifibrax here, which will allow us to get a Rocket Synchron. We're then going to link everything off into a Boral End Dragon. We're then going to banish 2 a Light and a Dark to bring back our Chaos Ruler, and then we can activate the effect of our Boral End to target our own card in order to bring back a Rocket Tracer. Now, I actually do make a slight mistake here because I think that I can activate the Rocket Tracer here, but alas, I'm actually out of targets. We had already used our Recharger as well as our Synchron here, so I should have just brought back the Synchron and we could have gone for the level 9 here. However, it doesn't really matter all that much because we can still go into an IP Masquerena and then set an Imperm, have the Ash Blossom, and pass. So we have the Boral End, which can negate a monster our opponent patrols, and then bring back one of our monsters, go into the IP Mask Arena to use the monster that we bring back as well as itself in order to go into Unicorn and then spin a card as well. So overall, a very competent strategy. My opponent is going to Monster Reborn, okay, and then set 3, set 4, and pass. I'm going to negate my opponent's Rocket Recharger in order to go into our Rocket Synchron to go into the Unicorn as I previously mentioned. We're going to pitch the Gamma in order to shuffle away one of those set cards, and the turn will pass it back to us. Now again, we do get to go for the Boral End here. We're going to target our own Unicorn, negate its effects, and then bring back the Rocket Tracer in order to go into access code. Now I can't really see a way in which I can lethal, so I'm just going to kind of clear up the board as easily as I can. I sadly only have 3 pops with this access code, so there you go. So we're going to pop the 2 back row as well as the set card that we don't know. Now granted, if I were to have activated the Rocket Recharger to pop it, I think this has an effect as well. No, I'm thinking of a different one. But yeah, its effect is negated anyway, so there's that. I'm just going to go to the battle phase after popping the hero monster that I see, the Vision Hero Increase, and yeah, just pass the turn back. Not really much more I can do, but again, we still have the Imperm, we still have the Ash Blossom, we still have the Boral End, so that is 3 negates. That seems pretty good given the fact that they only had the 2 cards. They're going to activate their increase. I'm going to negate it, and they will surrender. Now, while I didn't play that last game the most efficiently, you'll see what we are able to get off of a single quick launch. We have 4 cards that basically don't do anything for us here, and a quick launch. So we're going to activate this quick launch in order to go into a Striker Dragon. We'll then activate our Striker Dragon effect in order to grab up the Boot Sector launch, popping our own Striker Dragon as we use the second effect in order to add back that Rocket Tracer. We're then going to activate our Boot Sector launch in order to special summon out Rocket Tracer. My opponent is going to activate a Dragon Maid card, which I will promptly called by, and then once that chain resolves, I'm going to activate my Tracer effect in order to lock us into Darks. All of the Rocket effects lock them into Darks if their effect is utilized, but this one is still worth it. So what we're going to do is we are going to go into the Rocket Recharger, which allows us to go to Chaos Ruler. Chaos Ruler is basically saying, hey, I have a hope and a prayer that we hit something good off of these mills, and I happen to. Water Enchantress, Chaos Space, and we see a Rocket Tracer. That's fine. We haven't actually normal summoned up until this point, so the Rocket Tracer is still good. We're going to go for the Rite of Aramasir, activate the Rite of Aramasir, and we are going to grab ourselves a token, and then we are going to normal summon the Rocket Tracer just to get it onto the field for the Draco back. We're then going to activate the effect of our Faithful Adventurer to grab up the Wandering Griffin Rider. We're going to we're going to equip and special our monster. And then we are going to use the 2 monsters that we currently have on field other than the Adventure Engine to go into IP Mask Arena. And I know what you're thinking, why did you go into IP Mask Arena here? Well, the reason for that is, 1, with Max C, we could potentially draw into something that could be discarded off of our Nightmare Unicorn in order to get a little bit more advantage. But if we end up using the negate of the Wandering Griffin Rider, we can actually just tag out with our Adventure token into a Nightmare Unicorn and get that additional disruption. So that's basically the plan. My opponent sees the end of the game, I guess, and just scoops it up. Now, I know that last game left a little to be desired from my opponent, so this time we're going to let them go first. We actually ended up drawing a pretty interesting hand. We do have the Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, which is a very interesting hand trap in the current metagame. It does stop things like the Adventure Engine from actually being able to do anything, and so, yeah, pretty interesting. They're going to go and link off of their monsters into Link Devotee, and I'm actually going to Ghost Ogre this, because I'm pretty sure if I just lock them out of being able to link summon anything, it should be good. They're going to go for one-time passcode, which they randomly have, and then they're going to link off into a Cyber's Wicked. Now, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect, so we do need to keep that in mind. However, we already have the out with the Water Enchantress. However, I'm not going to immediately activate our Water Enchantress because we drew Dragon Ravine. This is sometimes what happens with these decks. You'll just end up with these weird, wonky hands, and it's really hard to see the individual lines. If you want to see a combo video about this deck, I could try it, but there are so many different lines, it would be very difficult for me to kind of show you everything. But yeah, it's a lot of just like learning what you can and cannot do, and what cards synergize together. Luckily, we drew the out to the Maximum Cockroach, and yeah, goodbye. Called by and Maxi, my favorite cards. Anyway, we are going to then send the Absol as well as sending the Water Enchantress to the graveyard. We're going to activate the Water Enchantress in order to grab up our Rite of Aramesir, and we're going to activate it. It is a little bit more valuable for me to have the Adventure Engine in rotation, seeing as how we have the Red Rose Dragon. So we are going to activate the we're going to activate the Rite of Aramesir. Now, I do this pretty poorly. Realistically, here, I should have just normal summoned the Red Rose in order to grab that discard fodder for the Draco back. We can then pitch the Draco back in order to search out the Wandering Griffin. But alas, now I have to banish or send to the graveyard our Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon because I messed up. Anyway, I'm just going to equip the Draco back and spin back the monster. And then we are going to go for the Baron de Fleur after normal summoning our Red Rose. Red Rose will then special summon itself, and then we'll search out, we'll special summon out the Rox Rose. Rox Rose will search out the Basel Rose, and then we will go into Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon will allow us to search out the Boot Sector Launch. Boot Sector Launch will then special summon out the Rocket Tracer, and we're going to also special summon out the Red Rose. We're then going to go for the Crystron Halcyon because it's a fair and balanced card, and we're going to summon out our Rocket Synchron. We needed a level 1 here, and so that's why we went for it. I'm then going to pop the Draco back and re-equip it, and then just synchro off, I don't know. We're going to go for the Chaos Ruler here. This is why we wanted the level 1 here, just so that we can use this body as a way to get into the other Omni Negate with our Hot Red Dragon. So we're going to reveal a whole bunch of cards. We end up revealing the DD Crow. That's just kind of the best one. We also get to send the Snow to the graveyard, so there's that. We're then going to sync off into the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. We're going to banish a Light in the Dark and just bring back this guy, and then we are going to activate Snow because we need 5 monsters. That's right, 5 monsters, or more particularly 5 link rating in order to go into Boral End. So that's the plan here. We're going to link off all of these monsters into Boral End. Now this is well over lethal, but if I really wanted to, I could potentially negate some one of our other monsters' effects in order to bring back another monster. However, seeing as how they're Omni Negates, that doesn't seem like the greatest of ideas. Also, we get to bring back our Rocket Tracer here, so now if we wanted to, we could even negate this and bring back another Rocket in order to go into something like an IP Masquerena if for some reason our play was slowed down or stopped. So hopefully this made sense as to why this deck can be so powerful. If you look at that last end board, it was quite formidable, and there was a lot that it did. Especially Boral and Dragon. This card in particular just does everything for this deck that you would want. It is an end boss that is very sticky and difficult to deal with, while also allowing you to gain back advantage by special summoning back a monster from the grave, allowing for additional material to be used for link summoning or just to have another body on field to potentially punch for more damage. Overall, a very solid card and a great addition to this already powerful deck. I know that 55 cards is a bit much and this deck overall is quite expensive, but I still would say that it is one of the better decks in the current format and people are finally realizing it. Anyway, I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy it. If you did, a like is very much so appreciated. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.